Welcome to PJ Maybe's YouTube channel. We will be starting in a couple of minutes, so bear with us. Thank you very much. Hi, and welcome to PJ Maybe's YouTube channel. We are finally live. We're just waiting on Gordon joining us. But what we'll do is just a quick catch up on what happened last week. We actually got to Blink and we were going to do the last 4 episodes, which are Writer's Reigns, Primal, Blue Haze, House Rules, and Once in a Lifetime. So 5 episodes. Writer's Reign was the one with the prodigal son return. Prior to that, I had Eureka was never my favourite. I had never watched it prior to this. Well, I'd watched 1 episode years and years ago, never got into it. But I rewatched it just because one of Gordon's favourites. So what I did was I checked it out. First time round, wasn't a great fan of it. Second time round, it got a bit better. And third time round, there was a few episodes I really enjoyed. Can't deny it, not as bad as I first thought. Second season, I've started watching and it's better. First seasons are always a bit hit and miss, I think, because they're still trying to settle in. So what we did was, we'll start with Writer's Reigns. Not one of the best episodes in my opinion. I know Gordon liked it. It was a bit more emotional, but I don't really bother about emotional sides. So what we'll do is we'll just do a quick look, and Gordon hopefully should join us in 10 minutes. So we will talk about Writer's Reigns. Writer's Reigns was the one. It was a weird one. It started off that there was some malfunctions happening around the town when you see a hitchhiker coming in, and there's fluctuations in the computer controlled environment, and it was all to do, as far as I can see, was they thought it was a hacker. The weird thing was they seemed to jump to the conclusion the new guy in town had somehow managed to hack it. Turned round, he had been there before. He was Joe Lupo's old boyfriend, and he left after a fire. So this is him coming back. I just found this a weird one. They seemed to jump to the conclusion that it was him that caused it. I think his name was Callister. And as it went through, it was to do with just things were happening, and he seemed to be at the middle of it. And accordingly, he had a history of setting things on fire. So I don't know really where they were going with it, but it turns out that he's got a link to Stark, the Mr. I don't care about anything except myself type narcissist. However, he is an android or a robot that Stark took an interest in when he was building him. It worked, but he hid the fact. And then what they did was they set fire and he got away, and they said all the records and everything were lost in it. So it wasn't really him that set the fire. although he thought he did. And then at the end, it's the big emotional, he dies. It had zero impact on me. I just did not care. It was just not my type of program. So that one in the season, I thought it was one of the weakest ones. I know Gordon loved it. Can't deny that. It was an emotional one. That's probably why I didn't like it as much. So we'll stick with the fact is Gordon and I are completely different. He likes the ones with a bit more depth and emotion. I like the sci-fi silly stuff. Which will take us on to the next one, Primal. Pardon me. Primal. It's all about Taggart. Taggart achieves a medical breakthrough with nanites. And Fargo invents a device that bridges between computers and human brain. And somehow they get linked together. And things happen. People pass out and they wake up in different places or they don't know how they got there. The thing I didn't really understand is why they passed out and the fuzziness about it, because that only seemed to happen right at the beginning and not later on. It all come back down to the fact that the nanites learn to reproduce. They learn. They basically are injected into a dog to help it heal. They use that to create another dog. Then they seem to actually they kill a human and take that to actually build human replicators type. I suppose is the easiest way I could think about it. And then they take over Stark because he's been injected. He's got the link, the uplink that Fargo put in his neck just to monitor his emotions and stuff like that. So they link into that. And when they link into that, that starts, it's trying to escape. It uses his knowledge. It starts building multiple of him. And then they have to figure a way to get it to come back. So they start making Stark jealous, which I just thought was a wee bit silly and contrived, because how can you be jealous if you know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it? Yeah. But anyway, so all the replicators at Stark, a link to Stark comes in and they get rid of it. And as you can see, even just talking about these episodes, I just found them boring. They were not interesting at all. The only fun part about it was Taggart. Taggart is always fun in it. I do enjoy his character. So I don't know. These episodes were quite dull. Although they had a good premise with the Primal, but I just thought they seemed to go nowhere with it. It was just, let's show how these people are jealous and there's a love triangle that's not really there as far as I can see. They keep telling us it's there, but I don't see it. It's just none of them will get any chemistry with each other, so I don't know. Anyway, next episode, episode 10, was Purple Haze. The people start exhibiting strange behavior. Strange behavior. It's investigated by Carter, and who has to solve it before Stark makes a decision that could affect the world. And I don't even know if I've got these two mixed up. They all blend together. And I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that the best episode had already passed, and these ones I just found, nah, they weren't as fun. The next episode, House Rules, but Purple Haze. So, as far as I remember this one, which I must admit, it basically draws a blank on me. If this is the one, the Purple Haze is to do with the plants. The plants cause people to black out and I think that's where I mixed it up. So the blackout, and it's all to do with plants making them feel, I don't know, the whole thing about the end of season 1, there was good points and bad points. These two, Primo and Purple Haze, I thought were mediocre at best. I don't even think mediocre would actually be a good starting point for it. But house rules. House rules I did enjoy. Because in the end of Purple Haze, Henry says he's quitting and leaving. And Jack says he's thinking about doing it too. So he takes a sick day and sits and looks at houses in different places around the place, and he's thinking about leaving and stuff like that. But the house, which I must admit is so annoying. Dislike the house. The house to me is it meant to be funny and quirky? I just find it is. If that was a lecture, I would unplug it. It's just weird. And the fact that they get the guy that plays Fargo to do the female voice, considering Fargo's one of my least favourite characters, just makes it more annoying. So, because he's having a bad day, Jack's having a bad day and thinking about leaving, Cerra, the house, invites everybody else to the house and then locks them in. But a pizza guy's locked in with them. And he's obviously the dumb pizza guy. And that was the point I was trying to say to Gordon before, because this town's meant to have the best of the best. Then you've got the pizza guy, who's sort of doesn't fit with the mold. He's just a dumb pizza guy, and he's only there just to get for comic relief and killed off because he's unimportant. He's an unimportant character that nobody would miss. And yeah, I mean, he blocks the toilet, does all the stupid things, and talks dude and stuff like that. It was just a tropish character there just to get rid of, to ask the stupid questions, which is normally Carter's job. But the house is trying to get them to stay, and they realise what it's doing. So they try and tamper with it, and they try and get Joe and Taggart to help them because they've worked out from the outside that there's something happening. So they're trying to get in. And between the two and Morse codes and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, if the house knows Morse code, why is it actually just letting them tap it away? Why doesn't it just tap different noises down just to actually send them on a wild goose chase? But what do I know? I was only watching it. Anyway, when they managed to break the house, it kicks back in an early program. It reminded me so much of Red Dwarf and Queeg. However, Queeg was a lot funnier, better, well done. Whereas this one, I don't know if what one was done first, but I don't see them copying each other. This was it's just terrible. It's really bored me even just talking about season 1. And this is one of the better episodes. Anyway, Red Dwarf and this one have very similar concepts. I don't understand why it was there, because it was built on top of Sarah's program was built on top of another one, which is it has to win at all costs. So it separates the 3 groups. One, it takes the air out, one it heats, one it chills, and they're all in different ones. Fargo's there with the doctor or the psychologist, and he's just perverted, and you're sitting there thinking, really, here we go again. Then you've got the Carter and Allison, and they're in their bit where it overheat are freezing and they have to curry up. And then you've got Henry and Stark in the third part, and they're getting it's either poison gas pumped in or air pumped out, one of the two. But they somehow all work that they need to get along, and then it all ends because the computer win, and then they talk about it out in the open when they know the computer's actually listening, and guess what? It takes offence and starts drawing out the air, and it goes into defence mode when it opens the door. The pizza guy's the only one that runs out, so he says how with all these smart people, he's the only one smart enough to run out. He gets to the cars, and the computer shoots him and disintegrates him. And then it starts, and I'm sitting there thinking, he was only there to get shot because they couldn't have an important character get shot. Would have been better one of the main characters that gets disintegrated, because then you could have thought later on there might be some aspects that of dangers to the characters. Same in a lot of programs, I always find when they try and put the main character in danger, they're not going to die. The only one I've ever seen that subverted that was The Next Generation. That was the one when Tasha Yar died, because I suppose the internet wasn't as big then, but even then, didn't expect it to happen. She was one of the mainstay, one of the better characters in it, but they killed Tasha Yar. Obviously, I know the lady that played her wanted to go into different things, wanted to do movies. She's in a couple of things. I think she was in one with Sigourney Weaver. I can't even remember. Was the I just can't remember the name of it. But Sigourney Weaver was in it, and she played a part in it. Can't remember seeing her in a lot of other things, but she has been in a few. Anyway, so we knew if somebody was going to die, it's going to be the pizza guy, because he was thick, he was unimportant, and he was only there for comic relief or to get killed off. And surprise, surprise, when he went running out, I just noticed, which was, I suppose it was just coincidental, he was wearing a red shirt, so I suppose that was a flag that he was going to die anyway. Anyhow, they managed to reboot the house just prior to Zoe turning up, just after Zoe turned up and the gun targets her. And in effect, when he targeted her, Jack goes crazy, tries to smash things up, which made zero difference, but something else happened in it. It rebooted Cerra and she gets rid of the guns and stuff like that. There was also an aspect a bit when they were down in the sewer that was Taggart and Joe, and the computer had a number of screens watching so it could target them. And for some reason, don't know why, they managed to step out and shoot 8 cameras, 4 each, before a computer could get shot off. So you are talking about a computer which is, I can't see how that would happen. It's sitting there. The object of it was to monitor and fire as soon as it saw anything. And a computer can't calculate as soon as the first one of them steps out and shoots the first camera. It's not as if they could shoot all the cameras at the same time. They had to shoot, so it was bang, 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 bang. That. So you're talking about even a fraction of a second should have been enough for the computer. But for some reason, the computer actually didn't calculate and fire before they could actually shoot all the cameras. No matter how much I like Joe and Taggart, I just found it silly that the computer didn't even get a shot off. It just did not ring true. Although I did enjoy this one a lot better than the other ones prior to it. The other ones prior to it I found were boring. This one was at least quite interesting, except Fargo and the logic behind some of the decisions. And the final one in the season was Once in a Lifetime. This was one of these what ifs. It's best I could describe it. Is it starts off, they all walk in, something's different. There's going to be, it looks like there's about to be an accident, and then the accident doesn't happen. And then it goes 4 years into the future and tells you where everybody is in 4 years, as if it's almost a case of, this is the end of the season, look where they are. Dun, dun, dun. Zoe's a valedictorian, Henry's running Globedyne, Alison and Jack are married and having a kid. Henry's obviously with, what's her name? I can't even remember her name. She's one of the better characters in it. I thought she would have been around for a lot longer, but the Chinese lady, can't even remember the character name. That is terrible. But she was one of the better characters in it. Anyway, so this is 4 years on, and things start happening. Something weird is happening with time. Things turning up from the past. So like Jack's car that got swept away 6 months before turns up, but it seemed to be one from 3 years ago, not the one from 6 months ago. And it's all to do with, there's something wrong with the timeline they're in. And they find out that Henry's manipulated a device that sent his consciousness back to his early self, and he stopped. It wasn't Vanessa. Was it Vanessa? From dying. That's going to annoy me. What's the name of the character? So I'm going to have a quick look to see, because it is really annoying me. But anyway, if it's Vanessa, I'll get back to that one. So Henry has sent his consciousness back to stop Vanessa dying. And I'm actually, if you give me 2 seconds, I'm just actually going to find her name, because that's more annoying to me than anything else. So basically, after a lab accident, the whole town wake up. That's really weird. I can't actually find. So Nathan, Joe, Fargo, Taggart, Kim. Is it Kim? Aye. Tamlin Tomita. She played Kim. So it's not. So Tamlin Tomita, she's really good, and I wish they'd actually kept her in, but the way they kept her in was there was an accident, but everybody wakes up 4 years down the line with a life. And then they find out Henry's gone back, changed the past, because Kim was meant to have died. And because of that, the two realities are joining up. So there's a time disparity, a time rift. The Carter has to go back and stop him, which he does, and everything reverts back to the way it was. The first thing I thought was, at the end of this one, was, how are they going to deal with that? Because is he going to know everything that's meant to have happened? Is him and Henry going to know? Because they sent their mind back to that point, they have to remember things that happened 4 years ago. They had to remember situations and stuff like that. So they can't just wake up and remember what they did 4 years previously. It just doesn't work that way. And are they going to live with the memories, or the fact that they've wiped that timeline? Does their memories get wiped, so that could keep happening because Henry keeps on trying to work out how to actually stop her, but obviously not. And that was the end of it. As an ending, it was actually a quite good what if. The what if, I must admit, could have been a bit better, because things like Zoe being brainy, and suddenly all these super smart kids have always been there. She comes in and suddenly she becomes smarter than them, gets the valedictorian. Yes, she could be smart, but up until that point, she was clever at certain things, but she seemed normal in others. I wouldn't say dumb, but compared to the smart people in the town, she didn't seem that smart or intelligent. Smart and intelligent, suppose, are different things. But we'll go on to season 2 as soon as Skeleton comes up. So I'll give my impressions of what I thought on season 1. Season 1, on the whole, it had its ups and downs. There were some episodes I liked, some I didn't. The ones I liked, I must admit, were the second one, Many Happy Returns. It was a good conclusion to the first pilot. The third episode, Before I Forget, was a fun Henry one, and that's the one where Kim appears in it, and I thought she was going to stay a lot longer, but it had some silly points. Other ones, you had the one with Saul Ribnick about a lab accident is called Invincible, a germaphobe and all that. That was a really good one. But then again, with Saul Ribnick in it, I've not seen anything he's been in I didn't like. Then there was the Dr. Nobel, and that was the one with the old guys. That was quite fun in certain parts. Some of it was just dire, but some of it was really funny. The bit with Fargo and that other guy finding 2 keys, this console, and turning them. Yeah, I mean, nobody, as I said, nobody ever watched War Games. It's a trope, and people that intelligent finding a device and then turning it and seeing what happens didn't make any sense. Then obviously there was the basketball game, which I thought was stupid as well. The last 5 episodes, Blink was okay. Writer's Reigns I thought was boring and dull. Primal I thought was silly. People going to their primal instincts, Joe being the silly girl, it just didn't quite work for me, because it was, I suppose, stripping away their ambitions or their who they were, and it was making them act differently because it was all to do with brain chemistry. But I just found it weird, and I didn't like it as much. But it wasn't as bad as things like Writer's Reign or Purple Haze. Sorry, aye. House Rules I thought was fun to an extent, but if they could get rid of Fargo, I think it'd be a lot better. And Once Upon a Lifetime was, I thought it was the typical trope of seeing how the grass is always greener. So what did I think all in all of the first season? I thought it was a typical first season. High points, low points, introduction to the characters, see what worked, see what didn't. Going into the second season, I was a bit more hopeful, because the first viewing of Eureka, years ago I saw one episode and it just did not get me, and I didn't find it interesting at all. So I passed it. I didn't even watch another episode. For doing the reviews, I watched the first season, and I must admit I found the whole first season mediocre. I watched it a second time, and 1 or 2 of the episodes stuck out as better. The rest of them were okay to mediocre. The third time round, the ones I liked stuck out. The ones I didn't like, I forgot them as soon as I'd watched them. Watched them 3 times and I still forgot them. That's not great, but I suppose for a first season, it kept me going to watch the second season. If I'd only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes, I think I would have probably just given up on it. But because I watched it to the end and I found a couple of the episodes that I quite enjoyed, it kept me going for the second season. And the second season is better. They answer some of the questions that I asked, some of the things that they bring out or bring up, and you're sitting there thinking, are they going to go anywhere with that? They sort of mention, bring back, change around, fiddle around with. So season 2 is a lot better. Season 1 as a starting point, as long as you ignore the tropes, it's very tropish. A lot of the things that happen are just tropes. Can't say anything better than that. They're just tropes. They use tropes quite a lot throughout this. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them work well, some of them just fall flat. But I suppose, like any season, the first season's going to be bad. You look at Star Trek Next Generation, I thought the first season was quite dire. And obviously it got a lot better, and it was one of the better shows on the TV at the time. Although I think there's a lot other programs that have surpassed even that. But this one would give you a starting point. And Gordon should be joining us hopefully anytime soon. So we will actually, I'm going to actually try and contact him, guys, and add him to the stream. And there's Gordon. Hello. I've just finished off season 1, so I have.
Very good. 5-star review, obviously. 5-star review, obviously.
Yeah, 5-star.
Oh well.
Basically, as I said, first run round, I thought it was mediocre. Second run round, there was certain episodes I enjoyed. Third run round, the ones I enjoyed, I really enjoyed. The rest of them, I seem to forget about them as soon as I watched them. It was really like that. But with season 2, I can understand why. As I said, it's like Star Trek The Next Generation. Season 1 of that was rubbish, in my opinion, I suppose. But season 2 was a lot better. Season 3, 4, on a bit better. I think season 2 of Eureka was a lot better. They answered some questions that I didn't expect to be answered, I suppose, because I'd noted in the past that there was certain tropes they did something and then they forgot about it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, in the very first couple of episodes, like for instance, Phoenix Rising, the first episode. So you got Henry and Jack struggle to deal with the losses of the people because of the last episode on the previous season, where they jump back 4 years to change it because of all that. And one of the things I found about that at the end of it, I thought, so are they two going to forget because it was an alternate timeline, or are they going to remember that and have to juggle it? They obviously brought that back up with the two of them being aware of it. But them discussing...
One thing that confuses me that I don't think ever really gets explained that well in the show, I don't think it's ever explained at all, actually, is that when Henry and Jack have the same memories, what I don't understand is why does Henry seem to have all the memories up to and including when Jack went back, if that makes sense? Because I can understand why, like in terms of the time scale, you would have had Henry would have invented the device, went back, changed it, and then led his life up to that point, then past it.
Right? Yes.
But everything past that point, you should have no knowledge of.
Yeah.
Because it was only Jack that went back later
Yeah,
on.
so when did Henry go back? Did he go back a year before, 2 years before?
It would have
10
been.
days?
It must. I think it's in. I think it's suggested it was about a year or two after the accident. So after the accident, he sends himself his memories back, obviously, and he saves her. But it just what confuses me, and I don't know if it's ever explained, but it seems like the Henry that goes back is the same Henry that was with Jack when Jack went back, which can't really happen because Jack went back, not the Henry of that time. But it's you could kind of argue, I suppose.
Time travel messes it up because they do that. I don't know why they do that. They seem to do that quite a lot. They go back and they forget things that happened prior to that before they went back, and I suppose it's like that. They forgot that Henry had gone back previously, so they wouldn't know about that aspect of it.
Yeah, it was just a weird thing. I don't suppose it ever really makes that much difference because he would still have the memories up to the point he went back.
Yes,
like the current Henry, if you like, the one that we're seeing in season 2. So I guess that kind of explains it. But I think it's a bit weird because from Henry's point of view, all he sees is Jack stopping him from rescuing her. So I don't know if he would know I don't know. It's weird. But.
It is weird. But do you not think Henry was less likable?
Oh yeah, but I think that was intentional. I think they are setting up. So towards the end of the season, they are setting him up to almost have become the bad guy. But obviously they flip it on its head right at the end and say, "Oh, surprise! He's actually the good guy."
We'll get to that, but I just thought was.
But isn't that so nice? I mean, you've probably seen it in other shows, I suppose. But what I liked about it is that all of season 1, they've set up Henry as he's like the beacon of the town, right? Henry is the good guy. In fact, the only person. In fact, I don't even know if you'd say that Jack is. I think they're on parity. Henry's like the beacon. Season 1's that, and then he suffers this horrible tragedy, and then he literally flips on his head, and then it sets up to him then being the bad guy, which is kind of cool because. I like that. You don't often see the origin story.
The last episode, I must admit, on that, I thought was based on what happened was ridiculous.
Oh, the
but
transporter.
We'll talk about that. No, yes, the transporter, but I thought it was ridiculous on why or how they go around it, even flipping in his head and stuff like that, based on running up to it. But we'll get there. We'll walk before we run. But I obviously thought, Henry was less likable, which was, to me, was a shame because he was, as you said, one of the beacons of the story. And the fact that they made him less likable sort of takes some people, actually, I would assume, would have watched it because they liked the character. And changing that can have negative effects. And I think it can have negative effects because if you're watching a program because you like a character and then they start twisting that character, a lot of people turn around and say, well, he's not a character I like, so I'm not going to watch it because they're messed around with it. I can understand why they did because of what happened this previous season, but I could see where some people who like the Henry character, seeing him going down that route, could have just walked away and gone, nah. They're messing around with the character that I like. And I think that's the one I thought he was less likable, especially in the first episode.
No, I think, I suppose it's true, in like modern day TV show, right? It's very much, you have a character, you set them up, and then that's the character that everyone knows and loves. And the whole notion, I suppose, of character development almost gets swept away. Whereas I guess what you could say is with Eureka, they were taking a bit of a chance with that because yes, Henry was such a loved character. And he obviously, if you want to get down to it, I'd imagine he was one of the main reasons people watch the show because the character is really good. And then when
do you know what he reminded me in this season? Anakin Skywalker.
Oh right, yeah, okay, yeah, going to the dark side. Yeah, fair play.
It just seemed there was the slow burn, so I could understand why there was a slow burn getting to there, and then it seemed to go boom, and you're sitting there thinking, that's like Anakin. I don't really feel comfortable doing this. Oh, look, there's all the kids. Let's go and kill them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just that part of Star Wars, the prequels, which I never liked the prequels anyway. The fact that he's humming and hawing about that could be seen as bad. Then the next thing you see him is going in and chopping up kids with a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I mean, that is a shit film. So yeah, very valid point.
But that's what I saw, the way they seem to be going with the Henry character. It just seemed to the bits where we make them less likable and them doing things, you could see why they were doing it, and you could see why he was changing, which initially he became less likable character, and I could understand why some people didn't like that. But the fact is, the way they were doing it, I could understand why they were doing it, because somebody's going through a trauma and he's trying to find his way to deal with it. So not everybody's head's in a good place.
So what I was going to finish with my thought was that I think maybe they were just taking a chance with that with Eureka, because as I say, the status quo is that you have the character they've developed, and they remain really constant throughout. In terms of as the character development, not really much if you look at most shows. I mean, if you think about, like, look at Stargate, like Jack O'Neill character development, Samantha Carter, any real character development, Teal'c. Still the same.
Teal'c, I suppose. Well, Teal'c was a bit. I think
Teal'c 11 seasons.
Teal'c and Daniel Jackson were probably got the most development, because Jackson got allowed to ascend, come back.
So I mean, like, compare that to a book. Compare that to like a character's development for a book, for example. It's relatively stationary. Whereas in Eureka, they've taken that chance with one of the main characters. Yeah. And it's not just a little bit of development. He's literally flipped from good to bad. Well, what appears to be bad. All I'm saying is I think they took a chance on it, and I actually quite liked it. And I think one of the things I quite liked about it is because I liked Henry so much, I kind of wanted to see him come back, to the light, if that makes sense. And that was an appeal to me. Is like, no, I don't want Henry to fall. I want him to I want him to be the good guy. But then there'll be people out there, the renegades, who would have loved that. And imagine Henry becomes the evil mastermind, and he's had a whole season that builds him up. And again, I think what's nice about that is it's maybe it's criticism of the show, but it would have set up. It would have given such a backstory to the character, because I can't think of many stories or shows where they devote an entire season to the backstory of a character. Yeah,
but I think they did it in a right way. Mm-hmm. Normally what they do is they'll have the character, they suddenly want to be the bad guy, doing things for no reason.
Yep, precisely.
They gave him a reason to do it. So I could understand the progression there. He started off as a lot less likable because you could see how he was acting it, but you knew why he was acting that way. I didn't have an issue with that aspect of it. I just found it was the fact is there's a character I liked that they're making it less likable. So if say for instance, I was watching it for Henry and Joe, to me the two best characters on it. Jack probably a third, but Henry and Joe are my two favourites. So Henry, they're starting to make this less likable. What would have happened if they'd started doing that with Joe? Would have cared if I watched the rest? Because the two characters are my favourite, and they're making them less likable. Then, I'll just watch season 1 again because that's the characters I liked. It's the same as the Doctor Who, big Doctor Who fan. I watched the classics. I started watching the new stuff. Didn't like it. I just thought it was all flash and or something substance. So I just stopped watching it, and I just watched the classics. Character that I don't like, they changed it the way I don't like it. So I went back and just watched the ones I liked, and I don't care about the new stuff at all. So I think there is a tendency it could go one way or the other. But in saying that, I could understand it, and that was the thing. But then again, The only other one I thought was less likable was Fargo. And considering I didn't like him, I liked him even less. Mr. Hervey, Fargo.
What about episode 2 then? Were you hoping they were going to blow him up?
Yes. I was hoping that they were going to Tasha Yaram. I was honestly hoping for that. That was the only reason I was interested in episode 2. But there was a couple of things in episode 1. Did you not think that they seemed to be trying to kill everything they set up from the previous episode? It's the last episode of season 1. Because Jack was with Alison, married with a kid, yet she's going after Stark and dead, and this is happening and that's happening, and making them go completely. Joe being a valedictorian, somehow she just seems dumber, not as smart.
You mean Zoe?
Zoe, sorry. Yeah. Who did I say? I can't remember.
Yeah, Joe.
Aye.
No. To be fair to Zoe, that I think that is like, I think that's maybe like 3 or 4 years into the future.
It was meant to be 4 years.
2016, yeah.
It was meant, no, 2010. It was meant to be.
Yeah, 2000.
So 4 years in the future. However, then you had the Joe part, whereas Taggart got together. Taggart got together, and what did they do? Said to Zoe, "Talk me out of it. He's the same age difference as me and my dad, and you and him." Well, that did it. So that's it. Walked away. Yet they had built that up just to go gone.
Well, that's what I like. In some ways, some aspects that I like, and so the reason they did that is because they're almost. I suspect they're looking ahead quite far with this, and they deliberately did that to increase the anguish that obviously Jack feels, because like he's trying to hold on to his former life. And I think maybe there's the feeling that, oh, well, he's seen it all before, so he'll get back there. So he didn't really sacrifice anything, by going back in time. But what that episode shows is that, no, he sacrificed everything by going back in time. Like his future family, his future unborn child, like that's all gone now. And he has to live with that. Until obviously Henry
zaps him and takes it out. But I just felt that they, not only just with him, they just seem to do it across the board. Joe and Taggart.
Again,
they
that's what
kibosh that.
What I like about that is, I mean, to be honest, I actually thought I would have liked to have seen that couple happen. I thought that would have been quite cool.
Because the two of them are the quirkier characters. I thought it would have actually worked. She's uber serious, and he's just the conspiracy hunter, naturalist, just all the bits that he's got in his character. But I don't know why did somebody actually say, really, young lassie and an old guy?
No, I think
we need to change it.
I think what they were doing there was like just a really subtle demonstration of the butterfly effect. Like one thing changes and everything else changes, and I think that's what
I could have understood that maybe something that Carter did, try to push them together because he knows that's what they're going to be, to try and change it, and it sort of backfires and bounces him away. But it didn't, because he didn't seem to have anything to do with it. It was her and Zoe talking. So there was no butterfly effect, as in Jack did this to try and push it, and it backfired and it split them apart. That would have worked a bit better. Whereas he had no input into it at all. But it happened. And that's almost like, well, if he goes back and resets, yes, some things might be different. Like, for instance, the guy blown up. And that didn't happen before. However...
That's the very definition of butterfly effect, though.
But the butterfly effect was caused because the explosion that killed Kim had an after effect on those people.
Yeah.
So you can understand why that didn't happen in the previous timeline. But the butterfly effect with Jack, they would have to have some input into things to cause that butterfly effect. And where would there have been an intersection? That'd be like turning around and saying, go back in time, make sure you don't go to the Dungeons and Dragons the very first time we met, so we never meet. Right? But would that have any impact on anything else that in your life that does not affect Dungeons and Dragons?
Absolutely. No, absolutely would, because like if you think about the Eureka example, right? In the back in time, when Henry goes back in time, they stop Kim from dying, right?
Yes.
So, I think what they're trying to show in the show, or what I think we're trying to portray, is that then leads to a much happier time. So, like, Kim is alive, Henry's alive, they're happy, they get together, and then therefore Joe and Taggart get together, and Henry,
yes, that would have been fine, but
so that's what happens, right? But then when Carter goes back in time, they've already Kim has died at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what they're trying to say is that in itself is a ripple effect. So there's no possible way we could know how that would happen.
I know, but it was just because he had no impact in it. That's what I'm saying. He seemed to have zero. Joe did not talk to him about anything to do with it. The two of them were talking irrespective of Carter being in a good mood or bad mood. And it was Zoe sort of put that in her mind not to go out with him. So why would that have changed in any way? That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I'd imagine that, I think, I can't remember if it's mentioned or hinted at in the show, but there's something along the lines of when Joe and Taggart have their first date in the original run through, like the back in time run through, I think that's when, in this universe, that's when the funeral for Kim is. So I'd imagine there could be something there where it's like in the original universe, they have their first date and everything hits off. In this run through, because Kim's died, they missed that initial run through, and then that's when everything starts to digest.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. It's just because it was Zoe that talked her out of it. That's what I'm saying. There was no.
Yeah, but imagine they had that first date and they hit it off and everything goes great. But in the rejig, they've had the funeral, so everything's got kind of pushed back a wee bit, and that allows for that conversation to have occurred. Whereas in the first universe, the first run through, that conversation maybe never occurred. Joe would have been happy with Taggart.
It just seemed weird. It just seemed out of the blue. It's almost like they were trying to kill season 1 setup.
Oh, I think they definitely were. 100% were.
And do another thing as well. Notice how they were talking about the artifact walking down the street. Quite happy to discuss things that were secret in public, because Beverly sort of leans in because they heard she heard them talking about the artifact. And then the next thing you see is Jack being flippant. Just we'll remember everything. We'll know the lottery numbers and all this. And you're sitting there thinking...
I didn't like that. No, I must admit.
I thought that was a wee bit flippant.
It was.
You've just lost your wife, your kid you've never met. You've lost them. And he's been flippant about it.
Well, what I know, in my mind, I think I was okay with that aspect of it. The bit I didn't like is he was talking to Henry, who has just lost the love of his wife and love of his life, and it's Jack's fault. And he's been like, "Hey, dude, it's all going to be great this time. I know I just killed the love of your life by stopping you from saving her. But hey, man, it's going to be great fun, right?" I'm like, "Whoa, man, some taste, a bit of taste here, a bit of decorum." But no, he's just like, right as rain. It's all going to be great this time. It's like, really? I mean, I could understand you saying that to any other character than Henry, but obviously Henry's the only one he can talk to about it. I like, though, later on, though, I think what they're doing with that is they're deliberately setting up so that later on, towards the end of the episode, when Henry's absent, his memory, he's like, "Man, I thought it was going to be good," and all this kind of stuff. But even still then, just completely ignoring and not acknowledging the fact that Kim's died.
Yeah,
I thought that was so crass, and I thought that was so poorly written, because Jack literally says, I think several times throughout the season, that Henry's his best friend. Would you seriously go up to your best friend who's just lost his wife and be like, "Hey, man, this is great. We're going to have a great time together"? It's like, no, you wouldn't do it. So that, I must admit, that was one bit I did not like. I thought that was really poorly written, really poorly acted out.
Yeah.
I thought they could have done that a lot better. There could have been a lot of ways they could have done that differently. And
did you notice how bad they were with the props?
No, which prop?
The fire extinguisher. You don't notice that one?
No.
Right. Look, I'll show you. I'll just whip it across.
Was this when Beverly's house was on fire? No, that was season 1.
Remember the wee guy, or the third guy blew up
Oh,
inside the restaurant, and the lassie was on fire. She comes out with the fire extinguisher, stands way back, fires the extinguisher. Then she switches it off. You know what I mean? She switches it off and just stands there where the lassie's still in fire. So she switches it off and she just stands there. He's still putting that lassie out and she's standing with a fire extinguisher looking at the flames. Yet just before that, she's literally miles away from it, firing it at it and ignoring the lassie. I just thought, somebody says, right, point the fire extinguisher, and then away. And you're sitting there thinking, really? It was, and then the artifact as well. Did you see that one as well?
Which I've seen it, but I mean, do you mean like the still image of it, or
no? This part here, I'll show you again. It made zero sense because remember in the last episode, right? I'll see if I can enlarge it a wee bit. Right. What they did was, you see the wee thing going in, leaning in, drilling a hole. It looked like it was some type of ball, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Look at the corridor. Comes to a dead stop. And then it pans out and it's all this brain matter look thing. But there's no corridor there. The corridor stops.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So how did the Saul Rubnik character walk in? How did the wee device drive in?
I suppose the argument, if I had to defend it, I would say that maybe the floor got blown away. But then why is the wall still there? So maybe the floor is plastic, who knows?
And then they sort of, it just made no sense, the whole room when they pulled down, it looked like a brain stem. And I'm sitting there thinking, really?
I think, the lack of ramp doesn't make too much sense. I think you can explain that away with the floor got damaged or blown away, or insert generic reason as to why it's not there anymore.
Yeah, but I just found those were humorous points of missed, because it's almost like a case of, right, this will look great, but it'll don't make sense. It doesn't matter when they pull out, nobody will notice it, or you get the fire extinguisher and do that, and you're sitting there thinking, really?
Yeah.
Come on, but in season 1, that was the bits that I found I could pull holes on, where the talking dogs going nuts. The 2 dogs are in my room for some reason. Normally they're not. But anyway, that was the things, like, for instance, apart from Fargo being in it and being a perv, and I dislike him. Every time he appears, I dislike him. Same as he's the house. I dislike the house. The fact that I know it's him doing a female voice just makes it even more annoying. I just do not like his character, ranting about his character. And I've not come across once. The only time I've liked a Fargo was the grandfather.
Yeah.
But, so the things I found, I mean, there were piddly things like the artifact ramp, no ramp at the door, made no sense. Her with a fire extinguisher, him being flippant, the discussing stuff in public where it's just top secret. They're piddly wee things to point out. All in all, I thought it was actually quite a good episode, though. And then you had the counsellor again back in it, the Tolan Nareem back in. And I did notice a lot of Stargate people in this time. There was quite a few.
There's quite a few Stargate people in the season as well. Later on as well, there's the nurse, the doctor,
Jerry. Aye, I know. Right, but try again. Episode 2. He activates a mysterious device. I thought this was hilarious because, please, kill him, please, kill him. You know what I mean? And the biggest point, basically, Fargo gets something dumped in him, and look, I'll press the button. But that's what I do. Yeah, I mean, that's just a stupid thing. If that's what you do, then stop giving him access to anything whatsoever. If he presses a button because a button's there, why would they let him into a room?
It's a good point. You wouldn't let. Yeah, that is a good point actually. I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, he's a computer guy, and he basically likes to press buttons that are there. Why would you let him build a system that accesses all these other things? Don't, because he would go, right, let's see if it works. Bing. Oh, it does. Oh, it's about to explode. Why is that? Because you pressed the button. And it's as soon as he says, but that's what I do, and I thought, nah. If that's what you do, you would not be allowed near anything. Because if you would press a button just because, that's like turning around and saying, see this big red button, it says this will destroy the internet, please do not press it. You know there's going to be somebody who'll press it. That type of person you don't want anywhere near it if that's what it's going to do and you don't want it done. You wouldn't say to him, right, I want you to come in and build a computer system from this big red button that needs to press. What's the first thing he would do? Press the button. Do you see what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
They've effectively says that's his character. And it's because it was a Fargo-centric one. And even his speeches at the bit when he's going to die and how it was just perfect again. By the way, do one for you, do one for you, do one for her, do one for her, and email them out. I
thought it was cringy, but I must admit I don't like cringe. Like if when I'm watching an episode of something, if it's cringy, I hate it. I hate cringe. I don't like cringe. But that actually, I didn't cringe at that. I just thought it was funny. I thought
that was cringy and pervy. Oh, by the way, Doctor, you next.
Yeah.
Just do the same for you. Just take this word out and put that word in. Yeah. Very sincere. Very. You're telling me, but I'm meant to actually act as if it's sincere. It's that type of thing. And then even the bit at the end, it was meant to be dramatic. It's meant to be, is he going to die? Oh, it's sucking the life out of them. Or he's going to have to shoot him through that. And I'm sitting there thinking, please, don't care. Does he die? I hope so. Does he survive? Pity if he does. Dislike the character that much, that whole suspense, I didn't care. I was hoping he died. I knew he was. I knew he wasn't going to because obviously I'd seen Warehouse 13.
Yeah.
But I just didn't care enough about the whole Fargo thing.
Okay.
I'm going to explain one thing to me. Why do people like Fargo?
I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, he's not my favourite character by any means. I guess he fills a stereotype of like the nerdy. I guess he is there as the ammunition, the butt of the joke, and that's about. I guess that's the role he plays, and pretty much really is the butt of the joke, right? And that he is there to be the butt of the joke. That's the whole point of the Fargo.
Yeah.
And if you are a fan of the underdog or that kind of person, I guess that can grow on you. Like, you like them because they're. That's the same. I suppose it's the same reason that people like evil characters, right? You'll get some really good evil characters that you just like as a character.
Charles Dance and everything.
I was actually going to say there's a show called oh god, what was it called? Dracula on Netflix. No, Castlevania. Sorry. And there's a character on there called Cynthia. I think she's like one of the evil vampires. Brilliant character. Like I really like the character, but she's evil as fuck. Excuse me, but she's totally evil. So I guess he's the butt of the joke. A lot of people sometimes feel sympathy for those type of people, like as a character. So I guess that grows in people and they like him for that reason.
Yeah, I just can't understand it. It's just I don't know. And then the next one after that one, which I was glad it was finished. I did watch it a second time, but I was busy doing other things. So because it was a Fargo-centric, I did watch it a second time, but as in it was on in the same room I was. So technically, I can say I watched it twice.
Fair enough.
But episode 3, Unpredictable, the weather one.
I liked it.
And you had one of my favourite characters, Dr. Zelenka from Stargate Atlantis.
Oh,
he played the blind guy.
Yes, yeah, you're quite right. Yeah,
David Nichol, Nykl Nichol, I think it's pronounced. David Nichol. He played Dr. Whitticus. Whitliss or Whitkiss?
Whitticus, I think is the name.
Aye. But so he's the actor's David Nichol, and I really like him and a lot. But he's one of my favourite characters in Stargate Atlantis, which is Dr. Zelenka. And the fact that he was in it, I automatically liked it. But I thought it was actually quite interesting. You know what I mean? Didn't I like the bit with the mother popping in? Because I always think they always put the X in, and you either, we just drifted apart, but we still love each other. Really? Or I absolutely hate you and I want to kill you. No, and my expected, the last thing I would say is go, hi, I've missed you. Fuck off. Pardon my German.
I think, no, that's very American, though. That whole thing.
We like each other, but not enough to stay married.
David Nichol, though, he's did he do a film recently? He looks like he was a baddie in a film recently. I can't remember what it was for. I'm on his IMDb. I'm going to have to. I'll get back to that. You keep talking. I'll get back to you on that.
Aye. Well, this one was the one that the mother turned up, but they're also having a lot of weird weather, and they think it's the Dr. Whitticus because he had built a machine that did it, but his funding got cut or something. But they thought he was actually the guy. It got killed. He got killed by flash freezing, and it was reckoned it was because he was having an affair with the guy's wife. And it turns out he already knew, but because he is a beta male, I suppose, who's blind and can't satisfy her. He was quite happy.
I think the word you're looking for is a cuck.
Aye. And I just find that weird. Really, is this what people actually believe is right? Or
that's totally true. No, that's a legit thing. Like 100%. That is,
aye, but it's usually it's. Nah, I don't see it. If anybody does that to me, they shouldn't actually be married or in a relationship. Just let them go, because that's not a relationship.
No, that's fair. I mean, like it's yeah. I mean, each to their own.
As long as they don't touch my own.
No, I don't really I can't pass judgment on that kind of stuff.
I can't because my ex actually had an affair, so yes, I can pass judgment on that.
No, fair enough. I'm not saying for you. Obviously for you that's you, but I know there are people that kind of relationship. I mean, that's why you get open relationships.
Open relationships are different because that's both sides.
No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. You can have an open relationship where one partner is more open and you're just like, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah, see, I find that weird. Open relationships I understand because then you're basically saying they're not tied down.
No, I find it very as well. Like, I couldn't have an open relationship. I'd be too jealous. Like, that's the bottom line. So, like, I can understand where you're coming from in terms of when you look at their relationship in the show and think, really, how could that be possible? Like, honestly, it wouldn't suit me, and I couldn't be in that position. I would rather be alone than know that Stephanie was out. But I can understand why. I suppose the argument could be that his time with her, he gets enough. He gets what he can in terms of happiness and companionship, but maybe that's the limit of what he is physically capable of. So, from his point of view, yes, I get the companionship and happiness, which is what I want, but there's nothing else. That's a physical limit of where my relationship can go. But at the same time, he loves his wife so much that he wants her to be happy, and she needs other stuff in her life, so she gets it elsewhere, and he's like, it's fine, whatever. Not saying for me.
I just found it weird, and it's that was the one thing I didn't like about the episode.
Overall, I thought, I must admit, again, not setting the sky on fire episode. Well, they did actually, literally, but almost. But in terms of interest and popularity, I don't think the episode sets the sky on fire.
But the thing is, as well, there was something I can't even quite remember it. Fargo appeared in it, and at some point,
yeah.
And I must admit, I thought I couldn't like him less, and then he proved me wrong by whatever it was he did. It must have just been one of those ones you're sitting there thinking, really, 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 to the point whereas I didn't like you beforehand, now I like you even less. It must have been something he said or did, and I just can't remember what it was. All I can remember is I thought, I had very low expectations and he failed to live up to them.
He sunk below them.
Aye, definitely. The last one I thought was one of the best. The next one, games people play. I thought that was one of the best episodes of the season.
What happens in it?
That's the one where people start disappearing.
Oh, right, yeah. But that's weird that you like that, because that's straight from Star Trek. That's straight from Next Generation.
But that's what I'm saying. I seem to like the ones that are very sci-fi, X-Files, weird type things. Because that's what I said about the last ones. I know you like the ones that have got a bit more emotion in them. Whereas I find them tedious. Whereas I find the ones that are bizarre and weird I really like, and you find them okay. It is one of those. I quite enjoyed it because I suppose it was a VR. It's another VR simulation type thing. Better than the basketball or the baseball.
One thing I liked about it was it's so weird. It's almost like it's an understated thing, but it's Jack's acting right at the end when he looks like he's having a seizure. He actually looks like he's having a seizure. I was like, holy crap! He's turning red. Like, that's dedication to the role right there. He's like, shaking in the bed and stuff. And no, I actually thought
and it was emotional as well. It was emotional as well because he had to live up to his fears, and his fear was losing his daughter.
Yeah,
which I didn't have any issues with the emotional aspect of that because there was a nice slow build up and it was quirky, weird, and stuff like that. Even the silliest part was when he bent down. This thing's going woo, 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 and he bends down right underneath it and then stands up, and I'm sitting there thinking, really? Anybody? Yeah. I've got a habit. I can't say anything. I'll go under a desk to fix a computer, and as I come out, I take the extra crawl backwards, and I still stand up and belt my head. I'm forever doing that. I know there's a desk there. I crawl out until I think I'm past it, stand up and belt the desk. Do it all the time. That was my head was always a mess. I could understand the aspect of it, but not if it's above your head. You hear it. It's not like you can forget about it because you're hearing the whirling.
They cover that. He's been deafened by the loud noise on the lead up. No, I thought the bit that I didn't like about it was I thought they could have done it so much. They could have just done something like the guy drops a tool and he goes to pick it up and hits his head. That would have been fine.
That would have been fine.
Why would you purposely reach into an oil tray to touch the oil? It's like this weird random shit. Like, like a dirty oil tray. I'm just going to stick my hand into that to touch it. It's like, no, you wouldn't. You would never do that. So
that's acid. What is it? You don't know what it is.
Yeah, but I thought that was weird. Like, what? It just seems so. It seems such a random thing to do. Just to set him up to get under there to stand up to hit his head when they could easily had it where the guy drops a tool and he said, "Oh, I'll get that," whack, hits head. That would have made far more sense.
It would have made a lot more sense, and I think that was the one part I thought was just weird. The fact that he basically goes underneath to get the oil and then stands up, bang, bang, bang. It's meant to have got hit multiple times because it's spinning and stuff like that. But again, if it was meant to be hard metal spinning at that speed, I think a wee bit of concussion would have been the last of his worries.
No, that's certainly true. But again, I like the acting from Jack Ferguson.
Colin.
Colin Ferguson. I'm thinking Jack Carter, obviously, but Colin Ferguson. Again, I like the practical acting. I thought it was funny. I thought the expression on his face, that's what I like about the whole show. Is I think he carries it off so well.
Well, I must admit, it was definitely because it was very centered around him. Don't know why, but it was definitely, for me, it was one of the highlights of the season. Sure. I loved that episode, and I did when it was back on the second time. I sat and watched it. I stopped what I was doing, enjoyed it, sat and watched it. And then the next one as well, I thought was okay. It could have been a hell of a lot better if they get rid of one thing.
Duck Goose, are you talking about now?
Yes. It would have been better if I get rid of one thing.
Fargo?
The car.
Oh, I didn't like the car.
Oh, God.
I thought it was so stupidly funny.
No. See, the fact is,
let's go for riding.
The Fargo voice was just annoying in it. But the fact is, right, she said, Alison sent him the car, no steering wheel, nothing. It's a self-driving car for an unstable house. Yeah, I mean, they've already established that the house is unstable.
Well, it doesn't
want to be left alone because they mentioned it twice in the last season. Like, for instance, when they were married, and he says, "Why don't we? I hate this dry sonic shower. Why can't we stay at mine's? It's because your house doesn't get depressed and threaten to kill itself." Do you know what I mean? So they've already, and then she sends a car. You give a car to something like that. Let's go on a holiday. Let's go on a break. We'll drive here, and you're sitting there thinking, really? But the fact that it was, I could not abide that car. So every time that car was in it, I just basically clicked past it, fast forwarded it. So anytime the car was saying something, good, bad, whatever, towards the story, I clicked over it, ignored it. And I do that quite a lot when that house is actually speaking.
Oh, fair enough.
It's just weird.
I'm just looking up. I was kind of curious because I'm sure I'd seen her before, but the Olivia Diabo, she's Jack's wife in the show, or the ex-wife.
Aye, I recognise her somewhere, but I can't remember where.
Yeah, I was just looking. She's had quite an impressive run actually in terms of like stuff she's done. Some of the bigger ones. She was in Rise of Skywalker. She was in Jane the Virgin TV series. Purity Falls. I'll just read out some of the big ones. American Dad. You won't have seen that.
Yeah.
Inspired to Kill. I mean, like B movies. A Christmas Eve.
I'm more likely I've seen B movies than I would.
She was in Conan, the original Conan. I think she was I think she was his conquest, if I'm honest. There's a wee
no. Was that not the?
Or she? We'll find out in a second when it plays. Conan the Destroyer. There's a wee clip with her in it. I've got to wait for an ad to finish, which is very annoying. It'll show me where she was in Conan. I'm sure I've seen her before somewhere.
I'm sure I've seen her before, but the Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I have to say it was the Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan.
Yeah, the original, yeah. Oh, it's just showing me the trailer for it. Oh, wait. Is that her there? Oh, that's her. Yeah, she was really young. I think, I don't know what role she was playing, but she looked semi-important. She's in the trailer. Maybe the love of Conan or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, she's had quite an impressive career.
But it's the same again. This is why we split up, because you and your job and you didn't like my job.
Yeah.
And then, yes, you used to get bored sitting there, and I would be doctor this and doctor that and doctor this. I'm just sitting there thinking, that's either the Big Bang Theory ripped it off from them, or they ripped it off from the Big Bang Theory. I know the Big Bang Theory was on out afterwards, so it's more likely that is Dr.
Yeah,
Cooper, Dr. Cooper, Dr. Sheldon, Dr. this, Dr. that, Mr. Hofstadter. You know what I mean?
I did like in the previous episode that they're obviously setting her up to be slightly disliked. And when she introduces herself, she says, "Oh, I'm Dr. So-and-so," which obviously is like she's trying to show off. But then I like the fact that it gets flipped and it's like, "Oh, well, I'm Dr. Abby so-and-so, or I'm Dr. such and such, and I'm Dr. such and such," and it's like, "Oh, everyone's a doctor here. I'm not special anymore."
Yeah, everyone's a doctor here. This is Jack's most least favourite place, because every time I went out with all my colleagues who were all doctors, he found it boring. So it was a case of back to that.
I can testify to that. It is very boring. Because
But then again,
workshop you don't understand.
The problem is, see, when a doctor goes out with a lot of teachers, that's boring for them as well.
Well, we usually just talk about the ugly children.
Yes, but
you should have seen this minger today.
I'm no longer at school. I was that as a child.
I'm going to need to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes, so because I do need to go and make some dinner for.
No problem.
People.
Well, what we'll do is we're just a Duck Goose, and how many episodes? There's 13 episodes. So why don't we just finish it up at Night of Dreams, or Noche de
Sanchos. Sanos. Noche de Sanos.
Which is Night of Dreams. Which had another SG1 guy in here. It was the doctor about the dreams, Colin Cunningham.
Yes.
Played Paul Sunos, because it was all his name. But he played the Major, remember, in Stargate SG1?
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
As soon as I saw him, I recognised him. I can't remember what part he played. Major Paul something or other.
Yeah, he was one of the senior officers.
He was a major in it, and he was very behind the SG program, whereas the other ones seemed to be trying to trip it up. I thought that was quite a funny one, except for the Fargo bit. And yes, that was meant to be Joe's dream, but
it was really. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
I liked the idea right up until I knew who Zorro was going to be.
But that's the point. Like, you know, that's why that is so horrific.
I think that would have been funnier, I suppose, or more realistically funny if it was his dream. Because why on earth would she dream that? In all honesty, you can't control your dreams. I understand that, but it's quite specific.
The reason that it's her dream is, again, I'm just guessing, but it's because they're being forced to share dreams. So it's almost like Fargo and Nathan Stark are being beamed into her head.
But that's the point. They weren't sharing the dream.
Ahead, she's having that dream anyway, and then they kind of get beamed into the roles that she's dreaming about. So it just so happens that Fargo is in that role, and then
that's not how it worked, because the thing about it was the 50 people in the survey, which were all 3G, and the list of the 50, and that's why they knew it was in the Fargo stream, because he was a receiver, not a sender. So he was just receiving other people's streams.
Well, the'd still have to be some sort of connection for him to be in it and see it.
But no, that's it. They did basically say you had the people who were sending the dreams and the people who were receiving them.
Yeah.
That's why everybody knew about Jack's dimple in his ass, because he was one of the senders, and his dream was going to they work naked and stuff like that, and people were going like that. They didn't have any interactions. They were just they were in his dream watching. They weren't participating in any other way, except the fact is they watched it and they dreamt them. He was dreaming meeting the people, and the ones he seemed to be meeting were the ones that actually dreamt it.
See, that's interesting, because the way I saw it, the way I interpreted the whole sequence, I suppose, was that he was like the server hosting the dream, they were sort of, and although so he was hosting it and then beaming it out, but there was also interaction with them. So the fact that that Jo says stuff in Carter's dream is actually Jo saying it in her dream to Carter, even though it's his dream. He's like the main running of it. That's kind of how I saw it. So that, to me, that's why it would make sense that if Jo's hosting the dream, then if there's other people about who happen to kind of interact with it, they're still interacting.
See, I never put that together, but actually, I see what you're meaning. It's a bit more sensible because, them interacting within it. But I don't know. I liked that episode. I thought it was one of the funnier ones.
Oh, yeah, really
for that one part, which I thought I would have liked, and honestly, because I remember growing up watching Zorro, the old black and white TV show on a Saturday morning. I sat and watched it, and I used to love it. But I think it was just because he was in it. See if it was anybody else. But there's also,
sure.
I don't know, and it just seemed a wee bit weird because Jo Lupo, I can't remember her ever speaking Spanish.
Well, no, she is Spanish. She is Spanish.
I know she is actually.
Well, I think
she's a Mexican. She's a Mexican actress because Eureka something or Icara or something like that. So it's a Mexican name, a Spanish name, but they've never mentioned that at all.
I think it's.
I suppose it's because when I see somebody look a particular way, I don't assume.
No, that's true.
That type of thing. So I wouldn't assume somebody who looks Chinese would be able to speak Chinese, Japanese, Korean, or something like that. They're an American, so they're in America. So I wouldn't assume.
What's your second name? Lupo. So isn't Lupo a Southern American name?
I don't know.
Let's find out. I'll find out. Is Lupo? Because that would be that's how I would say as well. Or she's called Jo Lupo, or Joseph. No, she's called Josefina Lupo.
Josefina Lupo, and it's Eureka Cerra.
I'll redact my statement. I said Spanish, but I guess South American.
South American is she's meant to be a Mexican, but Mexico and Spain speak the same language. It's Spanish.
Very similar. Yeah.
Aye. It's the same as America and Britain. They both speak English, but variations on it. Because remember, us Scots speak English as well, but not necessarily the Queen's English.
So Lupo, Romanian, Lupo, Lupo, Italian origin, Lopez is Spanish. So Lopez with his S is Portuguese. So I guess you could make the argument that I suppose that with her surname, it's kind of implied that she's kind of
I suppose so, but it's just that I just found it weird. Even then, I thought it was Fargo's dream. I thought, why is it Spanish? Because it's obviously the novella, the mixing soaps and stuff like that. I thought that was the route they were going down. Jo doesn't strike me as the type who would watch a soap, but then again, she doesn't strike me as the type who would watch, read clothes magazines and stuff like that. But they've obviously been setting that up a wee bit. She's got a hidden feminine side.
I think the way the episode works for me is that obviously it's
it's funny.
Strip away the everything about it, but what it says, I think, is that Jo has an unfulfilled desire, right? She wants to have a partner at some point.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then from there, you can then fill in the blanks and say, well, she has that desire, so that impacts. She has a dream about it, and then all this crazy shit's going on in the background, right? So who knows how that impacts the dream and makes her have one?
I suppose so. And don't talk about Jo's boyfriends. That episode.
Zane.
Oh, aye. And
I
I
didn't
thought,
like Jane.
and I thought I disliked Fargo. And then they bring in somebody else to try and actually fight with him. Basically, for that most disliked character moment. Although the guy who played Zane was in Stargate, Atlantis, and Warehouse 13.
Yeah.
In both.
I don't understand why they brought him in, to be honest.
And neither did I. It just seemed as if they were, oh, we need this young type of guy to, and then they just shoehorned him in. Weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like the cousin Oliver from Married with Children. We need a kid, bringing cousin Oliver. It's not working. Go upstairs and never come back down.
It's quite possible, I suppose, just thinking about it, is maybe the whole relationship between Taggart and Zoe. Excuse me. Yeah, definitely Zoe would be inappropriate, but maybe the whole relationship between Taggart and Joe didn't, I guess, pull well with audiences. You know, this is just my suspicion.
Aye.
And from that point of view, they obviously we can't. They thought, well, we can't go down that route anymore, so we need to obviously scrap that. So they do. But at the same time, they've got Joe. They want her to have a bit of development. They want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well,
and
we need to bring
they're definitely going to be with Fargo.
Yeah, precisely. So it's like, well, Fargo still has to be the butt of the jokes, and you know, Joe isn't going to go out with the butt of the jokes, right? So we need someone who will appeal to her. So we got to bring someone in.
That does not appeal.
No, I must admit, I didn't like him to start with. As a character, I don't mind. He's there. It's kind of funny, some of the stuff he does.
Everything he did, I just thought it was annoying. But we'll talk about him next week. We'll finish off with this one, which was the dream one. One of the funniest ones, I must admit. It was funny, even though Fargo was in it. I thought he was annoying. Like, for instance, I've got a wee bruise here, and you're sitting there thinking, really? Checking himself in. No wonder that nurse. I would have actually liked that nurse to help if she wanted to clobber him.
In some ways,
how's the truck driver? Well, he's going to be fine. He's in really bad condition, but he should be fine. Him, on the other hand, he's going to die. Yes. I just thought she was great. I could back that nurse to the hilt.
And I guess in some ways the writing worked then, that you hated them so much, because I suspect part of the writing was designed. It's like Joffrey in Game of Thrones, right? It was when he was written. I think my name's just gone out of my head as well, the author. But
George R. Martin.
Martin, yeah, that was it. After that, I think the first episode he comes in, Martin, allegedly, this is the story, he phoned up the actor of Joffrey and says, "Congratulations, you're the most hated person in America." Because he was obviously, the character was meant to be hated. And I suppose in some ways, maybe that was what Fargo was written for. And it's like, obviously it's worked because you hate him so much, you want him to die.
Basically, I don't know, where the wee bits with Fargo in it, even the bit when they're all in the cafe and he sort of sits up and they go, "The night's out, what? No story?" Oh, it's no funny. It's just, it's cringeworthy, I suppose, is the way. But I just thought, really?
I did like the episode overall. I like that. What I like more about season 2, and I suppose we can speak about this at the end of next week, is that they really are developing a theme throughout it now. And the theme obviously is Kevin and his relationship with the artifact. And I like that this episode is, again, it's episodic in that the experience of Jack and Zoe and
there's the wee bit behind the scenes.
Absolutely, there's a thing behind the scenes that's going on, and they even progress the Henry and Carter story, because Henry says to Carter, they have a dream. In the dream, he sees the thing. I think there's another episode when Henry sort of
Henry. That was the one when he's dumb.
Yes, I love that episode. I
like that episode. I'm really sorry, Jack. I didn't realise this is how you feel all the time.
That's the best line in the series. That's one of the best lines in the entire series.
I must admit, I thought that was very funny. And you're sitting there thinking, "Yep, that's what intelligent people must think of me."
It's just that moment. And Henry plays it. The actor who plays Henry plays it so well. He's just like, "Oh, I've just realised this must be what it's like for you all the time. Oh, great.
Even in his dumb state, I must admit, I quite enjoyed it. But in all fairness, I liked it. Didn't like Fargo in it, but I found that episode funny. Oh. The dogs hid me up. The dogs hid me up. Or 6 o'clock this morning. Basically, I normally go for a wee siesta, but being an old guy, I need it. But we went out for lunch and went up to the farm shop and stuff like that. So we went for a wee run and then came back in, had a nice big meal. So I've not had a chance. I need to go get to my baby boys at my age.
Well, I'm off to go and make some dinner.
Aye.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it, I must admit. Funnier episode, and considering Fargo's in it, I can't complain.
No, absolutely. There is only one. There's one thing I never. I guess. We'll talk about it next week. Actually, we'll talk about it next week.
Aye. Overall, we'll start with Family Ties next week. One of the best episodes for a Fargo. Absolutely. Which I did guess straight away who it was. Believe it or not, no matter where the clues were leading, I guessed as soon as I saw the person, I thought, that's the person.
That's you mean that's Fargo's someone?
No. Who put the Fargo someone?
You mean the jeweler?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say in case somebody hadn't seen it. Spoiler and stuff.
I think spoilers is
a bit late, but I know. But I knew it was going to be the jeweler. As soon as he walked in and he sort of looked at him, the first thing you would say is, "Mike, you look like so and so," or you know what I mean. He knew that he hadn't aged. To me, I would have assumed, are you related to so-and-so? Because you look dead like him. That's the type of thing you would expect somebody to see. If you've seen somebody 50 years on, you wouldn't automatically expect them to say, you've not changed a day. So how would he know it's the same person?
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, he's wearing the same clothes he saw him in last. And
but 50 years. You remember the jumper I was wearing last week?
No, but if you went missing today, right, and in 50 years I saw you and you're wearing that jumper with those heads, I'd be like, holy shit! The last time I saw you, you've not changed.
But you see, I mean, it's that type of thing. 50 years down the line, even if he knew pushed him and stuff like that, it's the fact that he didn't even question the fact it was the same person.
Well, I mean, my suspicion was raised as soon as he was on the shop, because generally speaking, you're not going to put a new. That's the problem with shows, right? It's like, why are they showing you this person at all? And they're showing you probably because he's going to be important at some point. He's either going to have a major part in the story or whatever. So it's like, well, he probably did it.
Yeah. But it's, unless they were going to go down the line that the wedding ring and stuff like that, and it was the grandmother who pushed him in. Yeah, I mean,
that would have been interesting.
It would have been more interesting, but as soon as I saw him and just the way he reacted, I just thought him has to be him.
Yeah.
Why is my mics and stuff like that? My desktop audio's not going. I'm getting weird results. It's saying desktop audio is silenced for some reason.
All right. Okay. Oh well.
Well, I'm getting sound, but I'm getting sound through here. It could be because I'm tuning it through there.
Right. Oh, well.
But it was working earlier on, I know that, so I'll need to actually check it on the freaking thing. Hopefully I'm not screwed it up again. Because I know the mic is working and the audio was working, but I know my mic came and my headphones came out, and then when I put them back in, I wonder if it's actually knocked them off. So
I suppose we'll find out when you check the recording in a few minutes.
Yes, see if I screwed it up the opposite way. Only me it's getting spoken to, no you. But anyway, Gordon, we'll finish off there and we'll start off with Family Ties next week, although we've already discussed it. And thank you, ladies and gents, for watching again. We never got to the end. And Gordon?
Thanks guys for watching. As seems to be the common. We never finish what we intend to, or we never finish what we start, but that's fine. Just gives us more to chat about next week.
Yeah, we'll finish season 2 next week, and we'll not start season 3 until we'll finish season 2.
Absolutely.
Because I've got a couple of movies to watch. I've got Shazam. Just bought myself Shazam. So I have.
Good film. Very good film.
I've seen it a number of times, but I got the DVD because I wanted the special commentary and stuff like that. I like those parts. I've watched that 3 times, and I want to see the extras in the disc.
Cool.
So there's some good extras in it, and that's why I spent the $5 to buy it, to get the extras. Because I mean, I do buy the physical DVD if I like it.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I bought all of Eureka on DVD, and I've watched pretty much every extra on it. I've even watched the audio commentary for quite a lot of stuff. At least that was a long time ago.
You look at my Doctor Who DVDs. I've watched all the extras and all of those. The ones that have got extras.
I guess it's just nice when you. It's just I like that they put that stuff in. It takes a bit of effort. You know, one of the funniest extras I've ever seen or ever listened to, I should say, was the Incredibles. It was the show that the film The Incredibles, and in there they do audio commentary, but it's the 2 of the main characters. It's Mr. Incredible and Frozone. And they're so it's the actors, but they're doing the commentary as their characters. And there's a scene in there where it's like Samuel Jackson is playing Frozone, and he's like, "Whoa, why is it the black dude has to get?" I think, oh, that's what it is. They're watching an early episode, like one of the 1960s episodes, and he's like, "Whoa, why is the black dude dying? Why is the black dude getting hammered like that? This is bullshit." And he just gets up and walks out midway through the recording. And it's one of the most hilarious. If you've never seen it, if you've never listened to it,
I've not got the actual DVD. I've got the download, but
I don't know if it will be on the download, but on the DVD,
it's definitely not on the download. But the thing is, what I'll do is once I get back into the charity shops, I buy all my discs from the charity shops. Very rarely I'll buy something like the next one I want to buy and I can't get it in the charity shops is Bristol County Junior.
Well, that's part of the hunt. That's part of the fun hunt. You know, you got to look for them.
Yeah, Bristol. Have you seen it? The Adventures of Bristol County. Bruce Campbell.
Right. Okay.
It is a Western sci-fi.
Okay, that's got my interest.
And it's comedy gold, so it is because it's Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, okay.
If you got a chance to see it, the other one is Jack of All Trades, Bruce Campbell again.
Mentioned that one, yeah.
Definitely, I would keep. I've got this. What do you call it? Hold on a sec. I'll show you.
Shall we? Just before you show me, shall we end the record? Oh well, anyway, he's gone. So everything he says bullshit, by the way, guys. It's Eureka's brilliant.
Yep.
Oh, very good. Is that one of the? Oh, it's one of the stills.
For Bristol County Junior, Bruce Campbell, it is absolutely amazing. I got one of the stills. I've got the stills up there for The Evil Dead. So I have. So I've got that. I like my Bruce Campbell stuff, and I've got a nice A3 picture down at the front of my man cave. And that's the one covered in blood from The Evil Dead. So I've got a few Bruce Campbell stuff. I would like to meet Bruce Campbell, but I think the last time he was over in Scotland was about 5-6 years ago. But
probably a good while before that happens again, I think.
Yeah, because he came over because he's part Scottish. Because his last book was Hail to the Chief when he came over. I think his family's from Perthshire, so he came over to do his book, and it was actually quite humorous. And I think the sound is working. I've just actually put the sound on. I think the sound is working. You need to speak.
Oh, yes. Hello.
So I can hear it now.
You need to speak this. Oh, yes. Hello.
It works, aye. So your basically sound's actually online. So it's my desktop, because you're doing it via StreamYards. That's why the sound's working and it's not coming through my sound system. So it's going through TeamYards.
I'm just looking at some of the stuff Bruce Campbell's done, and my goodness, he has a huge resume.
Oh, definitely. I've got both these books on audio. They are absolutely amazing. The B movie actor, Bruce Campbell, the king of the B movies, is basically, I think it was the king of the B movies. And he's Hail to the Chief as well.
Yeah.
2 fantastic books.
He does a lot of voice acting as well. He's got tons of credits in games, and ton of credits in games.
I've seen there was the one with he was a spy, Charles,
right?
Chuck Finley. Basically, it was Burn Notice.
Oh, I remember that show. That was
Bruce Campbell. That was Bruce Campbell.
That's right. Yeah, he's in a flying car all the time.
That's the one. That's Bruce Campbell. That was one of his latest ones. He's superb in anything he does, no matter what it is. Even when he actually had the movie, he got a movie. It was like almost a spy.
Oh no, yeah.
Ash v the Evil Dead is his.
Yeah.
What he's mainly known for, because he did the 3 movies. The Evil Dead, the Evil Dead 2, and what was the third one? Army of Darkness. That is a funny one. That is a lot funnier, because you get skeletons coming out the grave and coughing up all the dust and stupid stuff like that. You get so crazy stuff.
This will annoy you, but he was in the TV show Fargo.
Yes, and look, my Magic the Gathering deck box.
Oh yeah. My boomstick.
I've got about 3 or 4 of them. I do like Bruce Campbell, so I have got a few Bruce Campbell things up my wall. But definitely. Anyway, Briscoe County Junior, if you get a chance, look watch that. I've got it, but I want to buy the DVD. It's on my to buy list, but it's like 27 quid. So it's not cheap, because it's quite a rare one.
Space Cowboys is always a winner for me. Space
Cowboys.
Yeah, is that what you said? I thought you said that was he was like a Cowboys in Space or something like that.
Oh no. That it's a sci-fi western.
Oh right, okay. So is that not is that not spy?
Think Cowboys v Aliens.
Yeah.
So they're in the West.
Okay.
The sci-fi elements are in the West. It's not like they're in space or anything like that. The sci-fi element. Have you seen Cowboys v Aliens?
Yeah, unfortunately I have. Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically the aliens land, and he gets this thing cut. He's a cowboy, and instead of Cowboys v Indians, it was v aliens. So it's in the West, and these things happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Think of Tremors 5.
Okay, right. I've seen bits of that, so yeah, I kind of know where you're coming at. Yeah, fair. Fair.
It's a cowboy one, but there's things that are a wee bit sci-fi, and not everything, just the occasional bits here and there. And I just think it's hilarious. So it is. But definitely Briscoe County Junior. Anyway, ladies and gents, thanks again for listening to our rambling, and we'll see you next week, hopefully at the same time. So we're aiming for about 7:30, 8 o'clock next Saturday. And remember, I'm not old, I'm classic. PG may be out. Gordon?
Bye-bye.
Thank you. End.